Well, welcome in, everyone. This is Spitting Fire. I'm Matt alongside Connor, and it is conference championship weekend. Connor, I don't know if we've had a better divisional round heading into the conference championships than we did this last weekend.
I mean, I can't think of a better weekend of just football in general. It was incredible, awesome games. All four games were awesome, down to the wire. I mean, all four games came down to a kick to end regulation, right? So, I mean, how often does that happen? That's insane.
And a coin flip. And a coin flip. No, it was a touchdown. I can't
cannot
stand
forget
those people. Can you live? I can't stand the whole coin flip thing.
I think they should change it, but I also think if the Bills could have gotten a stop any of those times, they had a chance. Yeah. That's what it comes down to. It's like, yeah, I agree. It sucks. But I mean, at the same point, like literally get one stop in the last 2 minutes and it's game over.
So we're going to get to all the games, all the latest news, but my hottest take, Connor, is not something about Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. It's that the Bucs-Rams game was so much better and interesting than the Chiefs-Bills game.
Ooh, that's a very hot take.
And here's why. Because we've watched a lot of football, right? We watched a ton of football, and we've seen the games where it's two excellent quarterbacks moving the ball down the field. It's sort of the Chiefs-Bills game felt like a light version of Rams-Chiefs Monday Night Football. Like perfect plays, perfect execution. Outside of some of those Tyreek Hill runs after the catch, I can't think of a ton of plays in the game where it was player v player, someone just making such a good play. It's not like James Harrison intercepting the ball at the 1 yard line in the Super Bowl, or Malcolm, I can't even remember his last name, Butler making the interception in the end zone in the Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl. It was just wide open guys finding the ball. I mean, the thing I was most impressed with was probably Patrick Mahomes running, or Josh Allen's running, in terms of actual pure athleticism or talent, because they just made all the right plays. And so for me, as a guy who watches a ton of football, I enjoyed watching that crazy comeback that you, as a Rams fan, very much probably were sweating absolute bullets.
Yeah, I think two things. One, I think it can't be overstated the amazing game that Gabriel Davis had. And I think he had some crazy plays where he won some routes and made defenders look silly. So I think there was definitely that side. I also think, I mean, great quarterback play. We haven't seen it at that high of level in a long time, right? I mean, there was 25 points scored in the last 2 minutes of the game. That's pretty insane. But the Rams-Bucs game, the only reason I would say differently is because the Rams had 4 turnovers in the second half, right? They had the one to end the first half, but that one basically was also in the second half. I mean, they had 4 turnovers. That's the only reason the game was even remotely close. If they don't turn the ball over, if they turn it over 3 times, not 4 times,
and
the Rams win that easily.
Week. That's what you said last week, except you said it was Stafford. Can Stafford have a clean sheet? And it ended up being it's still 4 fumbles.
Insane for a team that has lost 5 fumbles all season to lose 4 in one game. And hey, I mean, my insight was still correct. Stafford played a clean game and they won. So that's, I mean, again, I think Stafford can not turn the ball over, because the one fumble, I guess they'd attribute it to him. The bad snap, I don't think that was his fault. If Stafford cannot turn the ball
based on the reaction in real time.
Yeah, it was a miscommunication that he snapped the ball and he wasn't ready for it. I mean, the odds of that happening, again, they've had 5 fumbles all season. I think if Stafford plays clean, the Rams keep winning.
Yeah. So we're going to break all that down, and credit to you. You went 3-1 against the spread, 3-1 straight up, right? And I went 2-2, 2-2. I got greedy with that Bengals Titans game. Should we start with that? We'll just go in order here. Bengals 19, Titans 16. The thing that stood out to me is everyone talking about Tannehill's interceptions. To me, it was the passes he didn't complete, not the ones that were tipped and intercepted. There were a couple tip balls. There's deflections from receivers. Should Tannehill be put to blame for this?
Yeah, I mean,
in the media.
I think the thing is, what we're seeing is you need a great quarterback to win. And guys like Tannehill and guys like Jimmy G, I think, is very similar to Tannehill, that as things go right, they can do enough. But I think that they have to be, I mean, you saw it in the Bills-Chiefs game. You have to have an elite quarterback to win games. And I think it always will come back to bite you, whether it's in the divisional round, whether it was Jimmy G in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, missing Emmanuel Sanders. Like, you have to have an elite quarterback no matter how good you are. And I think making turning the ball over is just, you can't win turning the ball over. And so the Rams got lucky in that situation. But I mean, the turnovers he had was unbelievable. I think the other story of that game that's going to be interesting this week is the Bengals offensive line is horrible.
9 sacks by the Titans.
9 sacks. And I mean, that the Titans have a good defensive line when they play well, right? They did it against the Rams. I know that. They've had it, it's funny because I remember us talking last season, every game was that their D-line sucks. They can't get any pressure. They can't get any pressure. They can get pressure now, but again, you have to have a quarterback that can at least make some plays, make the easy plays. And I think that was the problem, is that Tannehill couldn't even make the easy plays in this game, and that cost him.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I mean, the other thing was Derrick Henry. I don't think he looked 100% at all in the second half. That's why they brought out Deonta Foreman, who had a couple big runs. But other than that, I didn't think a ton stood out, except for I really do worry for the Bengals. I don't think this is going to be nearly as close as the first game, but we'll get to that. Let's talk.
I also think I think the coolest part of that game was Evan McPherson, the kicker, doing a warm-up kick, looking over to the backup quarterback and going, well, boys, looks like we're going to the AFC Championship game. Goes out, kicks it, doesn't even watch the ball go through the net. And he's like, yep, I'm the best.
Did you see, okay, we'll just throw it in, but the Kings, did you see Alvin Gentry? He's been so upset the entire season. And did you see the TNT video where it was the guy on the Kings who shimmied for like 3 seconds before he took the 3 and just bricked it?
Yeah. You gotta be.
McPherson made it.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta make it. I mean, it's also very different. The Kings are so bad right now that it's like, what are we doing celebrating anything? Whereas McPherson has been so sick all season that it's kind of like, other than that Packers game, he was bad in the Packers game, but other than that, he was pretty good all year.
Yeah, he was really bad in the Packers game. I think what's enjoyable, I enjoy it when the kickers are good more than when they're bad. 4 years ago, It was like we need a group therapy session for all the kickers, like call it in the middle of the season, organize it Roger Goodell, because guys were going down left and right, couldn't make a kick. Even Harrison Butker, who struggled in the game against the Bills, missing extra points, he came through.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that it's a great segue into that Packers game where, I mean, special teams came back to kill the Packers. You have to have good special teams, and that killed them.
Yeah, that was something where the Packers, it was weird because it felt like every drive just stalled. So they didn't have the margin of error the Rams had with the turnovers, because every drive stalled and fell apart. They kept moving down the field and it just fell apart in the red zone or just outside of it. Yeah,
it's crazy that the Packers always find a way to do this in the playoffs. They find new ways to lose. They're always so good, and everyone can say they're going to win the Super Bowl, and then comes the playoffs, and it's this.
Like both of us.
Yeah, seriously. And then the Niners game 2 years ago where, all of a sudden Jimmy G throws the ball 8 times and they still lose 37-20. Like it's just, you got to figure out ways to win. And I don't know if that's Rodgers. I don't know if that shows the lack of talent that the team has that it comes back to bite them. I don't know what the issue is there, because they just keep coming up with new ways to lose. And this year, special teams, I mean, blocked punt for a touchdown, blocked field goal to lose the game. They are just horrible. And then some big run backs by the Niners that that shows the importance of having all 3 phases, right? You can have the best offense and maybe the best defense in football, but if you have bad special teams, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I think it was one of those games, kind of like how the Bengals were able to squeak by the Titans. I'm not optimistic about the Niners. I'm not optimistic about the Bengals. It seems like both teams outperformed what they're going to be able to do this week against much better teams who aren't going to just blow the whole game. I mean, every drive stalled for the Green Bay. Not every drive is going to stall for the Rams this week.
Right. Yeah. And I saw something that Jimmy G's like 3-0 in the playoffs when he throws for no touchdowns. Like, that's not a sustainable way to do that. And granted to the Niners, they figured out ways to exploit the Rams, but the Rams have the number 1 rush defense in the NFL this season. So it's like, it's not going to be a cakewalk to do that. But then all of a sudden Debo creates a problem, and, we'll get to previewing the games, but I think, I think the Niners, good win by them. I'm still scared, but that they didn't look overly impressive in that game.
Yeah. So Aaron Rodgers, there's 3 things he can do. He can retire, leave, or stay in Green Bay. My working theory now, I thought he was going to leave last week after the game. I'm like, he's out. He's working on the Devontae Adams package. And now I think he's going to stay. I think he's that guy who just wants to be loved. The Australian Open's going on, and the biggest criticism of Novak Djokovic by Nick Kyrgios, one of our favorite players, both of us, the Aussie, he was just always criticizing Djokovic that he's just a guy who wants to be loved. And Djokovic cried at the Australian Open final when he's losing against Medvedev, when he's going for his 21st Grand Slam, which would have been the record. And he didn't cry. We found out after the match in the post-game interview that he cried because the fans were cheering for him for the first time. They'd never loved him. Djokovic had never felt that love, Connor. And now I'm starting to see Aaron Rodgers the same way. He just wants to be loved. He puts out that fierce face. He puts out that, I stand up against the vax, almost kind of similar to Djokovic. Like, I'm putting up that I'm this strong guy who has these strong values, but deep down there's something passive aggressive about it. Aaron just wants to be loved. He's coming back to Green Bay. He wants a big hug from the Cheeseheads, Connor.
Yeah. I mean, I have no idea. I think the interesting thing is with the Broncos signing Nathaniel Hackett as their quarterback, I think he's going to Denver. I think they got the guy. I mean, the Broncos said, we want the guy who Rodgers wants. Rodgers has talked over and over how much he loves Nathaniel Hackett. I think that's probably the move that's going to happen. And they have a ton of assets to trade. So I think that's kind of where Denver already was a great spot. Now getting the quarterback that presumably without Rodgers directly saying, I want this guy, it's as close to that as you can get in Hackett.
Yeah. But did you at least appreciate my emotional take?
I agree. Yeah, I think he is a softie.
Thanks for the practical reality, Connor. Connor's like, yeah, well, he's going to Denver. Why'd you just do some weird comparison between tennis and the NFL?
I think he's struggled. What I will say is I think his whole career he's struggled with people not liking him. And I think that's hurt him. And so, but the Packers, the fans have always wanted him though. So it's not like it's a new thing. And the Broncos it'd be a whole new fan base to go and love him. So now I think that's the other thing. If he wants to be loved, he can come to the Broncos and be the savior there. I mean, I think that you saw what happened with Peyton Manning, how much they love Peyton Manning and all that stuff. He could take a similar path and say, all right, I'm going to go to the team and they're going to love me.
Yep. Now, same thing for Tom Brady. He can leave, stay, or change teams. This one seems much more media driven, although it's seeming to linger a little bit more just because Tom Brady said he values his family and their decision, what they want. I think he's just going back to Tampa. I don't think it's that complicated.
Yeah. I think it's two things. One, I think the family thing does weigh on him, but he also said a bunch of stuff like that in 2017 and then has now played 5 more years. So it's kind of like, well, how much do you really value your family's input? The other thing is the Bucs, they were able to keep their whole championship team together this year, but there's a lot of guys that are in line for some big paydays from them or from different teams. I think, a lot of guys they brought back, they either franchise tagged Shaq Barrett, and then they, got a bunch of guys on 1-year deals. Who knows if those guys are still going to be there next year? And does Brady want to play with a less of a roster than he had this year, right? He had all the guys he wanted and it still wasn't enough. Does he want to try to run that back again? I feel like, as much as anybody in history, his legacy is cemented. He's good. He went to Tampa Bay, proved he could win without Belichick. And, now it's kind of looking like he's won the narrative of Belichick or Brady, who was more important. I mean, Brady, right? And the
Bills blowing out New England in the first week of the playoffs really cemented that. It just put a stamp on it.
Totally. Because you could still argue, oh, it's a rookie quarterback, whatever. Their defense was horrible, and that's Belichick's baby. And so if the defense can't be good for the Pats, and they got demolished by them. So I think, I could see Brady. I could see him leaving. I mean, I definitely don't see him going anywhere else, right? I don't think anywhere else makes sense for him.
You can knock that out.
So I think, I Niners, maybe just go back home, but I doubt he's going to go anywhere else.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Okay, I don't think there's much more else to say about the Niners Green Bay game, just because, like you said, it wasn't that interesting. Connor, you okay there? It's Connor's flu game today. It's both of our flu games. We're playing through this, and we're having our best pod yet.
Well, I love it. Let's do it.
But Rams Bucks, let's talk about that. The way it ended up, I always think it's funny in the NFL when you get a game where the team comes all the way back and then the other team does a 2-minute drill and kicks a field goal. Reminded me of the OBJ Josh Norman game where the Giants were down a bajillion. OBJ should have been kicked out, and then he has 2 or 3 touchdowns in the second half. And then at the end, Cam Newton comes back and has a Graham Gano field goal. But I don't know if there's much else to say about that game. We talked about the fumbles, 4-1 Rams. I had my take.
I want to say, go ahead.
No, you go.
I want to say that Matt Stafford is unreal. And I think all the media narratives that he can't win big games can never be said ever again. You're never allowed to say that. He went down on the Bucs that they were supposed to have a great defense. He went and scored in 45 seconds, set him up for a field goal with no timeouts. I mean, that shows right there that he is that man. He played incredible. I saw Skip Bayless trying to be like, well, Brady played better. Look in the second half, how many more yards Brady had than Stafford. It's like, yeah, the Rams were up by 24. Yeah, Rams were up by 24. They're going to run the ball, and Brady's from behind. He has to throw it. Like, what the stupidest argument I've ever seen. Stafford is legit. Cooper Kupp is unguardable. OBJ now being as effective as he is
he's unguardable, but you have to say the defense they called there was the best case scenario for Cooper Kupp on that.
Yeah,
catch.
For sure.
That was not good.
Well, the thing is, so they called a zero blitz, and it's funny. I was reading a bunch about kind of that play. And they've ran that player. They've had it in their playbook all season. And the route that Cooper Kupp runs, Stafford and Kupp call it the for the love of the game route, because you will never, he said, there's never a situation where I will throw the ball to Kupp on that route. It is never going to him. It is always going to an underneath guy 100% of the time is what they'd always said.
That's
and then
crazy.
Zero blitz and saw Kupp just kind of squeak through it and just chucked it. And so it's like, I mean, yeah, for sure. That was great defense for that play. But like that was never supposed to go to him. It just happened that it was to him. Right. And the other thing is Von Miller is in incredible shape. He's playing his best football he's played in a few years. Aaron Donald's unguardable. I mean, if you know, you can slow the Rams down if you can slow down Aaron Donald, but now Von Miller's going to come after you. Leonard Floyd's going to come after you, and Donald will just eat up 3 blocks in the middle and give Von Miller one-on-ones all day. Like it's going to be very tough, I think, the way the Rams are playing right now for the Niners to beat them.
That's I am one city advantage, man. You just dropped like 5 big names in a row, and a bunch of them came because they wanted to be in LA.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I 100% on what you said about Stafford. I've always been, hey, this guy, it's Detroit. It's not him. He's a baller. You just watch. Again, it's like what you said about Skip. Like someone has to take the other side on these TV shows, and guys are going to keep pumping the Stafford can't win narrative in big games. But the eyeball test says no. There's nothing else we need to say. Now, what I want to ask you is Ramsey on the perfect ball to Mike Evans. What do you think of that? I mean, I don't watch a lot of the Rams because your team's amazing. I'm going with the Rams this week. But I don't think you guys are that fun to watch on offense, just because you're very you're like a chess wizard, like moving your pieces and just like everybody's open. Again, it's sort of like that thing. There's not like some crazy play that happens. It's just you just are forceful and get it done. But what do you think of Ramsey? Yeah, tell me about that.
I mean, the bias, I would say he did stumble a little bit on the route, which he did. But I think he just got beat. I think it happens. I mean, it happens every once in a while. A guy's going to get beat. He got beat there.
Again, it was a perfect ball. I was more the reaction. Is that normal?
What did he do?
It just seemed like a lot of attitude.
Yeah, I mean, he has attitude. That's what he does. He brings that swagger onto the field.
I was just curious. I don't know.
Oh yeah, he's the biggest trash talker in the NFL.
Oh,
he's always going. Yeah. He's crazy. He's in everyone's face all the time.
Well, because he wears the ski mask now, so I don't know that he's trash talking.
Oh, you can.
So I watched the game and he just looks serious. But
I mean, he slapped Taylor Rapp in the huddle like 2 games ago.
Did he?
Like he doesn't. Yeah, he slapped his own teammate in the huddle. Like he is a bad dude, but that's the swagger that you get to where you can say, "All right, Jalen, you're by yourself. You got no help. Just deal with it. Like you're going to have to shut this guy down." And more often than not, he shuts guys down. And in the NFL, the way the rules are today, it's very rare. How many guys are literally like, you just leave him over there and he can guard big guys. He can guard fast guys. He can guard whatever you need. He guards tight ends. The way he's going to be a nickel corner this week. Like he does everything. He'll play outside linebacker for snaps.
Well, what I thought was interesting,
he's insane.
Is he called the switch a few plays before.
Yeah.
That. Yeah. Who's your other corner?
Darius Williams, who
Yeah.
is very good, but Darius Williams is small. He's only like 5'9". So that's where it's like Jalen Ramsey has to be on Mike Evans. You need a big guy there.
Right.
It just sucked that he got burned deep, but again, that
won the
happens
game.
every
It's all
once in a
good.
while. But exactly.
I just was curious about Ramsey as a guy. All right, last game we got to recap. Chiefs 42, Bills 36. It's the game everyone else says was the game of the week. You heard my hot take. I didn't really get a response. I take it you think the Chiefs Bills game was superior to Bucks Rams.
Yeah, I think it's just the Bucks Rams was just ruined by turnovers. The Rams don't turn the ball over. They think about this. They legit, if they wouldn't have fumbled it at the end of the first half, they could have been up 34-3, like the Rams would have been before Brady even got the ball in the second half. And so at that point, like they were up 27-3 at 34-3. That's not even a ball game. Right. And so it's like, even if it's 30-3 and they just got a field goal there, they fumbled on the 1 yard line. Like, I think that's where when games get ruined by turnovers or missed kicks or things like that, I think that's kind of ruins how good a game can be, whereas
Cam Akers going to be put on a carry count.
No, he'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, he's fine. He got it out of him. Again, he's not a fumble prone guy. He just had a bad game. Okay. I think that happens. It sucks that it happened, in the divisional round, but I think he'll be fine. I think, if he fumbles the ball again, absolutely. Yeah, he's out. He's going to get pulled. He's on a short leash, but
right.
I think, you got to go with him just because he is so much more dynamic than Sony Michel. I think
and we
you
talked
need
about
to have
the
him
pass catching.
Right. So you need to have him there. You just hope that was a bad game and he gets it out of his system and that, he's been carrying a football around with him everywhere he goes this week to say he can't put it down. But yeah, I mean, I think that Bills Chiefs game was unbelievable. Those 2 minutes, like, that's just elite. Those are the two best quarterbacks in the league doing what they're going to do. Right. And I think the craziest thing to me is that now forever, the story is going to be, there is literally no amount of time you can leave on the clock. That's too much. That's not enough time for Patrick Mahomes. 13 seconds. That should not be possible. Now the Bills played it bad. They didn't squib it. They didn't do a couple of things, but 13 seconds is unbelievable.
Yeah, I wonder about the squib. I didn't think about it in the heat of the game. I was so caught up in it too. I didn't even cross my mind. And then after when they mentioned it, I was like, oh, in hindsight, that's so obvious.
Because even if Warren Sharp wrote up about this, and he was saying that if the Bills had played it right, they would have squibbed it. At minimum, that takes like 3 seconds off the clock where they have to touch the ball, fall on it, and the clock gets stopped. And then he said, literally the very next play, as soon as the play gets snapped, just tackle every wide receiver. Just tackle all of them. Take the 5-yard penalty and then defend against a 60-yard Hail Mary.
Right. Yeah.
You waste all the clock and just tackle everyone and say, all right, you're going to beat me on a 60-yard Hail Mary. And then you live with it there. If Patrick Mahomes, which again, I never bet against that guy now. If he gets a 60-yard Hail Mary, he gets a 60-yard Hail Mary. Like, that sucks. But I think you live with it at that point.
Well, you bet for him last week. I thought what Mahomes said after the game was exactly right. He said, Josh Allen played a fantastic game. We won because we had the better playmakers, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. They carried him to win the game. I thought that was exactly right.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to have better playmakers than those two guys. Those are two of the most electric guys and complement each other so well that you can have Kelce as the perfect possession guy and then Tyreek Hill as the game breaker there.
And I didn't get a chance to watch it, but it was kind of trending on social media. I guess Kelce was sort of like saying what was going to happen on the sideline before it happened, how they were going to get the field goal.
Yeah.
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 And,
it was pretty cool.
Yeah. The other thing that I took away from the game was Mahomes running. He feels the defense so much. He almost sticks his arm out all soft, like how Le'Veon used to do it. Just feels the defense. He almost is like walking at some points. It reminds me so much of how Le'Veon Bell used to run. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, he's incredible. And you look at both those guys, that's what they bring to the table that is going to be so dynamic about them for a long time, is just not even if they're running, they both ran for a decent amount of yards, but not even running for yards, just being able to stay alive in the pocket, feel the defense, maneuver, make guys miss, and then make a throw downfield is something those two guys truly do better than anybody else.
And it feels more sustainable than Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, it's like he could go down in a heap at any moment. With Mahomes, it feels natural. It feels trusted. Obviously, the offensive line, but yeah.
They got to get him a line. That's the only thing is they got to get him a line. But, if they get him an offensive line, it's sustainable, but it's not sustainable the way. But that Joe Burrow, man, he is as tough as they come. He's the toughest quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say is it's different with Mahomes improvising as opposed to Josh Allen. He's getting the QB sweeps called. I mean, we got to give Josh Allen some love here. He played unbelievable. I thought that people were honestly right that he probably played a better game than Mahomes. It's just Mahomes made the plays when it mattered, and the coin fell where it fell, Connor. It fell where it fell.
Yeah,
All
the
right,
worst, the
so
worst play Josh Allen made in that game was calling tails and not heads. Right? That's the only bad play he made.
what have you had? What have you called heads?
No.
Were you,
Well,
were you,
I don't know.
Were you watching live and were you thinking about it? As a kid, I was always like, oh, do I go heads or tails?
Oh, I tails every time. Josh Allen, there was some stat that he had the highest percentage of correctly called coin flips all season.
Really?
And so, yeah. So, I mean, you got to go. It doesn't matter. It literally is. That is the definition of a coin flip. Like whatever you pick, you just got to ride it and hope it falls right.
What was the team? Oh, it was the Raiders. They've been in overtime a bajillion times. I guess they've just been in one possession games a bajillion times. But all right, with lure picks. Bengals at the Chiefs. It's Kansas City -7. Over-unders 54.5. Who you got?
Yeah, Chiefs in the over. I saw it this morning. It was 7.5, but it's now down to 7. I did not like it at 7.5. I like it a lot at 7. I think that it might be exactly a 7-point game. I like the Chiefs. I mean, again, the Bengals beat a Titans team that had problems, that was very good and deserved the 1 seed, but was very flawed. I think that the Chiefs, you can't make any mistakes against them the way they're playing right now. They're back to the like, oh yeah, we're the best team in the NFL. We can score literally whenever we want. I think that the Bengals, it's just going to be tough for them to keep up. And so, and again, it's the playoffs. So it's the conference championships. It's 2 good teams. Anything can happen. But I think I'm going Chiefs and the over 54.5.
Yeah, and I saw a headline. They're playing at Kansas City, and I forgot during COVID the last 2 years. Like you said, you forgot the Bills had won a home playoff game because you forgot about the crowd. First win with the crowd. It is so loud, and I think they're going to have a hard time in Kansas City compared to in Tennessee. And the other thing is, you just keep it simple. Is Jamar Chase going to have 11 receptions for 266 yards and 3 TDs again? Probably not. You know, Mahomes in that last game in week 17 where the Bengals won 34-31, he had 259 yards, 2 touchdowns. So not a crazy gunslinger game, but still very efficient. And I think that's because they kept the ball out of the Chiefs' hands in the second half a lot. But I just don't think that that's going to happen with how well the Chiefs offense is rolling right now. So I'm also on Kansas City and the over.
Yep. Shootout. I'm rooting for a shootout.
All right. I'm excited for this. Niners at the Rams. Well, do you have anything else to say on Bengals Chiefs?
No.
Niners at the Rams. I'm excited about this because I didn't see either of the regular season games. So I want to get your take first on those 2 games that the Niners have won this year in the regular season.
Yeah, first game
the Rams
sucked.
struggled so much.
Rams always just struggle against them. I think it's twofold. One is that Shanahan is so good at finding little nuances and how to exploit those. And the biggest thing is the Rams have a really good defense. And what they do is that they just say, you're not going to beat us with big plays. And so you need to be patient and run 14 play drives and take 6 yards every single time. And don't try to take a shot because we'll pick it off or we'll sack you or we'll do all these things. And so the Niners, Shanahan is just patient and says, all right, we'll take what you can get. I mean, you look at the game they played. So the first game was derailed because Stafford, had 2 interceptions. That was bad. I think one of them was a pick 6 even. And it was just, they were dominating and playing from behind the whole time. And then the Niners could just run the clock that way. Second game, Rams were up 17-3. They were dominating. They should have been up 17-0 at halftime, but played, had a bad 4th down play and ended up giving them some life. I think what happened in that game though was that the Niners again just stayed patient and came into the second half and just ran the ball and said, I don't care, 14 points, we're okay. Like we're just gonna run it, we're gonna run it. And so I think that's kind of what it is. If the Rams get out to another big lead, I don't see them losing it. I think again the key is going to be forcing the Niners into medium to long 3rd down plays. Right? You saw it against the Packers. They had 2 3rd and 7s, and they've handed the ball off to Deebo. Right. They do not trust Jimmy G. So if they can force them into longer 3rd down plays, I think Jimmy G is going to really, really struggle with that. And I think the Rams can take advantage. And that I think will be kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah, I agree. And I would just frame that a little bit differently in that I'm just really curious how the Niners offense is going to do not in the snow. Are they going to come out more comfortable, playing better? Or I guess, yeah. And that basically is saying, are you going to have those 3rd and longs or not?
Yeah. And I don't trust Jimmy G at all. So I think if it can be on Jimmy G's shoulders to win the game, I feel very good about that. again, Shanahan's a wizard and can figure out ways to make sure that doesn't happen. I think the other guy there's a couple of things about this is that Trent Williams is banged up. He didn't even play though in the week 18 game and they still won. So I don't know how much of a difference that makes, but the way Von Miller's playing right now, he will eat alive a backup tackle. And if it is Trent Williams who's banged up, I think he still will beat him. Will kind of hurt him there because it's his ankle, and Von Miller, his best thing is his speed rush, right? I mean, he's so powerful and can do everything, but he'll just get around guys if he needs to. And then the other one is if Deebo Samuel's fully healthy, right? He was banged up too. And so if he can be fully Deebo, that guy is the scariest guy in the NFL just because of what he's able to do from different alignments, different spots. He's terrifying. And he's, what the Niners are going to do is just make the Rams tackle. And they had 19 missed tackles in the week 18 game. If they don't miss 19 tackles, I think the Rams can win this pretty easily. But that's what the Niners do well is make the second level guys tackle you. And if they, and that's what it's going to come down to.
That's really interesting. Who you got then? What's your pick?
Rams, but I like it in the under. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think the Niners are going to try to muck it up and do another thing like the Packer game of, make it slow pace, try to squeak one out and win it there. But the Rams have the number 4 special teams. They got a top 10 offense and defense. It's going to be hard to beat, just from scheming. And I think, these guys are so familiar with each other, not just from playing already twice this season, but Shanahan, McVay are best friends. They know everything about each other. There's going to be no surprises in this game. It's just going to come down to who executes better.
Well, your analysis was so good. It made me want to copy you, but that'd be so lame in the conference championship. So I am going to take the Rams straight up, but I'm going to take the Niners and the points, and then I'm going to go under. So I kept basically the same. I'm just going to take it to be a closer game than you think.
All right. I'm okay with that. I mean, I think I could definitely see it coming down to a field goal at the end or something like that. Rams kick a field goal, have to stop the Niners. Who knows? But I think that, that definitely is not an unheard of situation.
Yeah. Well, those are the games. That's the conference championship. Now let's get into some of the basic news. Roethlisberger, he finally announced he's going to retire from the Steelers. Kevin Colbert is stepping down after the draft. So it's just going to be Mike Tomlin on the Steelers. We also just heard from Jerry Jones, Dan Quinn and Mike McCarthy will be back for the Cowboys. And supposedly Dan Quinn turned down a head coaching job. That seems like pumping your own team, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think regardless, everyone's saying it. So this is a lazy take, but I think that after this year, Sean Payton's going to go to the Cowboys. I think that's going to happen. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Dan Quinn's doing, why he would do that, but his stock's never going to be higher than it is right now. You know what I mean? It's not going to get better. He's hoping for another great defensive performance, and maybe that happens. It's not going to be. I don't see a bunch. I think the problem is, are there any good jobs available right now?
Right. That's exactly what came to mind when you said that. No.
And so I guess there's nowhere that you're like, oh, they're just a good coach away from being really good. Honestly, the closest to that is the Dolphins, but they had a good coach, and that's why they were good. And so it's I don't know.
And if you're not a transcendent coach, like a Bill Belichick or something, you can't go to those teams. It's just too risky. It's like Sam Darnold getting drafted. It's like being drafted by the Jets if you're a quarterback. Although I think it's going to work out now for the Jets, but they blew through 5 guys to get there. So,
and who knows? Zach Wilson might not be good.
Well, I like his 60-yard runs where no one tackles.
Daniel Jones has those too, though.
I like those too.
Yeah, fair enough.
The other thing I saw on the headlines that I thought was funny was the Kings are no longer pursuing Ben Simmons. Did you see that?
No, but I think that's more Ben Simmons is no longer pursuing the Kings. I don't think that has anything to do. I think today, if the Sixers called them and they said, you got to give us, I don't know, whatever the package was, they would do it in a heartbeat.
And so Ben not only won't play for the 76ers, but he won't play for certain teams.
Yeah. I mean, he's a Rich Paul client. He's going to he's going to decide where he wants to go. And if he doesn't want to go to a team, he's not going to go there. I've said forever, the best trade, said it before the season, would have been, I would have loved if they did Kyrie for Ben Simmons straight up. Yeah. Kyrie could then play every game. Ben Simmons is a perfect complement to those guys. I think it would have been an awesome move, but they're not going to do that. Now the story is James Harden for Ben Simmons. I could see that happening, but they said that won't happen at the earliest. It'd be after the season.
Where were you on the Ben Simmons thing? For those who haven't heard, let me explain. And Connor, you interject if I'm biased on how I'm explaining this, because we probably have different takes. But basically, Ben Simmons, he had this falling out with the Sixers. He didn't dunk when he had a clear dunk in the playoffs against the Hawks last year, right? During the COVID playoffs. And ever since then, the city of Philadelphia, notoriously tough on their players, fans that are notoriously tough, they just totally lost faith in him. He may have lost his confidence or just doesn't like the situation. It's sort of ambivalent. But ever since the season ended and they lost to the Hawks, he hadn't been back in Philadelphia. Now then he comes back, surprised, shows up to the facility because he told them that he didn't want to play for them and that he wanted to trade. They said no, but he surprised showed up to the city so that he could still keep getting his contract payouts. And then he's still not playing, Connor, citing mental health.
Yep.
And under that, he still gets his full salary or most of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think?
I mean, I think his relationship with the Sixers soured long before that. I think they've always kind of killed him in the playoffs because, again, he's the perfect guy that works for most of the season. But in the playoffs in the NBA, it comes down to who has the best guys. It doesn't matter who has the best scheme or who can do whatever. And Ben Simmons just becomes so limited and the game slows down so much in the playoffs and they can really take advantage of certain guys that basically he's useless on offense. And the problem with Ben Simmons on the Sixers is that he actually would be really good if you could get him with 4 guys that can shoot and spread the ball around him. But with Joel Embiid, the right move is to have Joel Embiid on the floor. And so they can't spread the floor when they have Ben Simmons. And so he needs to be in a situation with 4 other guys that can shoot, spread the floor, run a pick and roll and then kick it out and do whatever. He's very good at the things he does, but he can't shoot. And that's just we've seen it over and over again. Teams can't get over. You can't play on a team with 2 guys that can't shoot. You can only have 1 guy that can't shoot on a team in the NBA right now. And he's there. And I think, again, it comes down to, analytics stuff of same thing like in baseball. Baseball, it's such a long sport that if you have analytics wise, you're going to win a lot of games. It's the Oakland A's. They always win a lot of games, but why don't they win in the playoffs? You have to have better guys. And Ben Simmons is just not that guy on that team. He needs to be on a team with 4 other shooters. And that's why, a team like Brooklyn, where he needs to play defense, facilitate the offense, and then can stay out of the way, would have been awesome. That he would be perfect on Brooklyn.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you basketball wise, and I should because I don't know what I'm talking about and you do. But beyond that, the key point here that goes beyond the basketball is that GM Daryl Morey has said he will not move Simmons for anything that doesn't make them championship contenders. He says his argument, and I love the talking point. I love it philosophically. I don't know if I love it practically because at some point you got to move him. But philosophically, I love it. He says, this guy is someone who makes us a championship contender. His words were, he's a difference maker, right? That's what he said in the interview. He said, he's a difference maker, and we need a difference maker in return. And the NBA has been such a players' league. It's still a players' league. And this is sort of like the litmus test or the line in the sand where we're going to get to see, do things shift and revert back a little bit? And you saying, hey, he won't even go to Sacramento, he's a Rich Paul client, that tells me, no, this is 100% still a players' league.
Yeah, it definitely is going to stay a players' league. I think that's never going to change. I think that, that's for the good in some senses, but I think that, Ben Simmons does make them a better team than no one, right? He's better than not having him, but he does not allow them to win the championship. He's not going to make them actually there. And so it's a tough spot. Guys that look good. Send him to Portland, trade him for CJ McCollum. I think that makes both teams better. It's just hard because how many times can you give up a star player to get another guy? I don't know. Cause you can get 1st-round picks, but does that help you right now? Unless you can move those picks for someone else.
Well, Daryl Morey won't do that. The contract's through 2024, 2025, right?
Right.
And so he said, I will just sit on him. He said in the interview, it could be years.
Yeah.
Which is so different than what it's been, because it's been in the past, hey, you don't want to be here? All right, you're out. When the Rockets, when James Harden, those guys went to Fertitta, they're like, hey, you're the owner, we want to leave. And he's like, all right, I got you guys out. And did he get difference makers in return? No.
But they started, that's the difference though, is a lot of those guys you look at like Anthony Davis or James Harden or whatever, those teams weren't any good around him. And so those teams could go for a rebuild. And so that's what the Pelicans did. They said, all right, Anthony Davis, we'll trade you, get 10,000 picks from the Lakers and rebuild. Whereas Philly is not in the middle of a rebuild. They're trying to contend right now. So they want players. And so that's the hard part is I'm sure there's a ton of teams that would just right away, yeah, we'll trade you 2 picks for him. No problem. 3 picks, 5 picks, whatever it is. But the Sixers aren't in a position to rebuild. So unless you can then flip those picks for another player, and again, who do you get that's the right fit that's available that can do that? I think CJ McCollum would be good. Kyrie or Harden would be good. The Harden issue is that they're in the same division. So do you want to trade a guy in your division? Like, I don't know who the right fit is in Philly, but I know the right fit is not Ben Simmons.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. The first thing that came to mind just hearing all that was still coming back to that these guys won't play and don't want to play in certain markets. And to me, that's something that, do you think that needs to be rooted out? Because that's something that the leadership at the NBA could handle. Like, hey, if there's a legit offer on the table and you're refusing it, you're getting a fine, or you're getting your pay docked or something for where you are right now. I mean, that'd be extremely extreme, because anything else, you wouldn't solve it.
The problem is that most players in the NBA don't have no trade clauses, right? Like LeBron has one where you can't trade LeBron without his approval, but like Ben Simmons does not have that. But what he does is he'll just tell to the Kings, I'm just not going to play. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to sit out if you trade for me.
Right.
So then the Kings are like, oh, well, we don't want to spend all of this draft capital or all of these players to get a guy who doesn't want to play here, And so I think that's the hard part. But, that looking at the NFL, same thing. How many times, though, do you get a guy like Odell who gets out of Cleveland and you're like, well, this guy's washed up. He's not that good anymore. Like, we don't even want him. Dude's on the Rams and he's killing it. He's going to earn himself another contract. Yeah. And so it's like, why doesn't Ben Simmons say, hey, I am still that guy? Because from his perspective, he can do that. He's still getting paid. He doesn't have to play. He's getting paid. I mean, to be honest, he has the dream situation right now. I don't even have to play, man. I'm still making $30 million a year. I would love that.
Yeah. The other thing is I can say that, but really, I think so many small market teams are succeeding. Buffalo's doing well. Kansas City's doing well in the NFL, and in the NBA. You have the Suns. I mean, that's a big-ish market, but is it a super desirable market for players to live in? No, it's not bad. No. It's not Sacramento, but it's not much different. And so I think I can say all these things. I can press you and say, hey, like, we got to make it fairer for the little guys. And at the end of the day, there's so many teams and there's so much parity that you're going to get good small market teams.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the thing with basketball is it's the only sport where, like, as different than football, guys aren't wearing helmets. So you see their face, they're noticeable guys. The other thing is you have fans literally 3 feet from the players. It's such a more personal sport than some of these other sports. And so that's where being in a big market does make a difference. And guys want to be in LA, guys want to be in Miami or New York or in, these places. I wouldn't want to go if I was one of them. I wouldn't want to go to Oklahoma City or go over to Memphis or Minnesota or a place like that. Like, especially if I have the choice. Now, it's what do you value? Is winning or is it your brand? But if in the NBA they've shown you can build a winner very easily if you can get players, right? You can build a winner easier than you can in any other sport. Because if you get 2 or 3 good guys, Brooklyn did it. They got 3 guys. All of a sudden, they're the best team in the NBA. Lakers were horrible. They get LeBron, they get Anthony Davis, they win the championship. Like, you can build a team very quickly. And so that's where there's no need to go be like, all right, well, Minnesota is 1 piece away. I'm going to go there. Screw it. Go build your own team in Golden State. Go build your own team in Portland or, one of these cities you might want to be in. Portland's not even there, but like, a city you want to be in, go build a team there as opposed to going and hoping you can build a team somewhere else. That's a bad market also.
Yeah, I think it's just something to keep an eye on. I think it's fine the way it is now, where big city teams can always build a great roster out of nowhere and don't have to go through the rebuilds that small city teams do or less desirable markets. I just think if it ever got to the point where it's all A markets that are dominating and all of the small markets are struggling and rebuilding, then it's a problem. But right now you're always having some smaller, less desirable markets doing really well. The Bucks just won. So I think it's completely fine right now. It's just something to keep an eye on.
Yep. Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up. Australian Open final, Medvedev versus Nadal. It's basically a repeat with a different player of the US Open final where Medvedev played Djokovic, and Djokovic was going for his 21st Grand Slam. Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer all have 20 Grand Slams. Djokovic just got kicked out of Australia. He's watching from the sideline. He's watching, is Nadal going to break the record and have 21st Grand Slam and be, the greatest of all time forever long. I don't even know if Djokovic is going to get to play in the French Open. I don't know if you saw, but they're saying everyone has to be vaccinated for the French Open, even to play. There will be no exemptions. So he's looking at not playing until Wimbledon at this point. And by then his ranking may drop by thousands of points. But anyways, I keep talking about Djokovic.
Why would he care? Wait, why would Djokovic care about his ranking at this point? What does that matter?
Just for the small chance that he'd have to play Medvedev in like the semis or the quarters or something. Because if your ranking drops a lot, like Federer could, for Djokovic, it wouldn't be a worry till the quarters or semis if he dropped into Wimbledon. But if you're someone like Federer, who's like ranked 20th now, you can play Medvedev, Nadal, or Joker in like the third round. Yeah. If you get a bad draw because you're not seated high. Yeah. So that's why it matters. But anyway,
all right, fair enough.
You were on. Did you end up taking Berrettini in the semifinal against Nadal?
No, I ended up not getting it in. I didn't get it in, which I'm glad about.
Because I told you my heart was with Nadal, but
yeah, I know nothing about tennis, so that's where I go with you on all of the. I mean, I know enough that I watch it, but I don't really know tennis, So that's why every time I'm thinking about tennis,
what do you find interesting? I kind of laid out some of the narratives and backdrop, and that's the drama stuff. You don't need to know a lot about tennis. Do you find any of those storylines compelling as someone who doesn't like pay much attention to tennis? You only occasionally bet it.
Not like I just like peak athletes performing at their best. And so that's where it was when you had Joker, Nadal, and Federer all at their peaks at the same time. Like it was must watch every single time. And so, I hope, better than me, is there with Fed coming to the end, Nadal probably coming to the end. It seems like Joker's still kind of there, but close to the end. Right. Is there a wave of young guys that are good, or is it going to be like women's tennis where every month there's a new number one ranked person?
Yeah. I think it's going to be more like kind of more like women's tennis. I think Medvedev and a couple other guys will be at the top, but there'll be a lot of parity. It's going to be completely different. And that's how tennis was before.
Right.
Always up and down. You had great guys. You had Jimmy Connors, you had John McEnroe, you had Bjorn Borg, but they weren't like dominating for 20 years. They had kind of spurts, kind of like in the NBA when you had the Lakers do a three-peat, have a break, championship, the Celtics. It's going to be more like that. So
are Joker, Fed, and Nadal top 3 tennis players ever?
Yes.
Men's tennis players?
Easy.
Men's tennis players?
Yeah, absolutely easy.
Okay.
You could throw Rod Laver in there, who is the only person to have done a calendar Grand Slam.
Okay.
But he was before the Open era. Tennis wasn't as, you know how it is. It wasn't as developed of a sport professionally. The athleticism, the ability wasn't the same. But yeah, I'd say easily they're the top 3. I'm going to go, though, with Medvedev in this final. I think he's going to take out Nadal. He's just too gamey. He's too long. He's just this lanky, I like it. Kind of like Waluigi on the court, but Russian.
Is he a big man?
Oh, he's a big man. He's like.
Does he play big man tennis?
No, he's fast and he's athletic. He's like an NBA small forward, 6'6".
We need some more big man tennis. Give me some big man tennis guys that I need to watch.
You saw Riley Opelka, right? I told you about him.
Oh yeah, he's a
guy. He's taller.
I love him.
Yeah, he was playing down under. He's 6'11". If you haven't seen him, he's like a bigger, more athletic version of John Isner. For some reason, not as successful as John Isner, but that was the guy who played Nicholas Mahut in the 72 to 75th set at Wimbledon.
Loved that. That was amazing.
That was the peak of Connor's tennis viewing.
That definitely was the peak of me watching tennis, because that's when I was like in high school and couldn't drive, so I'd just sit at home and watch ESPN all day and watch every tennis match. And so I watched the entire Mahut Isner match.
Well, that's some of the best vibes if you're a sports fan, because it's July, and if you're lucky, well, you got UEFA, so you got UEFA Euro Champions League, you got Wimbledon, and you've got baseball in the thick of it. You got summer baseball. You're looking forward to the NFL, and it's just and it's summer. You're out. It's summer's out. You're just living your best life.
Agreed. Agreed.
All right, well, that's it, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Spitting Fire. Have a great weekend.